How are you guys? Well, so excited to be here. Thank you to Gugman for bringing me from far. I'm very excited. So, I promise to be quick. Okay. Yes. All right. Excellent. I brought some ingredients from down south. I'm talking about really far down south. So I'm lucky. I'm going to explain you a little bit about some of Boragó, where it's located, my restaurant in Santiago, Chile. So yeah, well, we started this ride about almost 15 years ago. So by the beginning of the next year, it's going to be 15 years. I still don't believe it. So I'm going to talk about my land in Chile, one of the biggest endemic countries. When we started, we knew nothing technically. I like to call it happy ignorance. So we knew nothing about the land. In most of the restaurants back then, were bringing ingredients from overseas, from different parts of the world. So Chilean ingredients had no meaning or no value at all. Not the best, but the good things were coming from outside of the country. So I was in trouble, but we really wanted to start cooking with these beautiful ingredients no one really paid attention to, or no one really experimented with. So I did this. I don't know if you notice. This is Chile. This is the land. That's Europe. That's how will look the Chilean territory on top of Europe. So it's quite long, as you see, and it's divided by different regions. I'm going to start talking about very quickly about the central area where Boragó is so Santiago, the capital. It's fully surrounded by high mountains, and we really have this sense of seasonality, and we Chileans, we never really pay attention to it. And so when you walk in the autumn, you can really feel the aromas, of the nature. For being a city, for being a capital, it's amazing. You can see this beautiful spots all over the city, in the surroundings, where you can grab still ingredients that are very unique in the world. And that's how we start, I'm sorry, we started, learning, a long learning process, as I like to call it, experimenting, with different things. But that time, one ingredient meant only one possibility we were happy about. If you look at it, I'm sorry, if you look those bushes all over, those are Chilean espino. So, for instance, we discovered the roasting and fermenting those seeds of that tree. We discovered the first Chilean espresso. We cannot produce coffee because Chile is too dry and cold to do so. So, well, some wild fruits, That's the way Santiago looks in the winter, fully surrounded by these high mountains. And it's, so ingredients that they grow near in the hills of the city, such as this mushroom that smells like chocolate and tastes yeast. We call it chocolate mushroom. So we have to invent that English almost weapon to cut and catch. It's quite amazing. And we also had to redefine, seasonality. Seasonality is very important to us because in a way describes the way, a culture can eat, and we felt that we didn't have that. And so we kind of invented this fifth season, we call it pre-spring, We noticed like in between the end of the winter and beginning of the spring, there were flashing different ingredients, very unique, by the way. And that plant over there, it was the first alarm that we had in order to show us that pre-spring, as we call it, started. So, for instance, we show this. This is we call it pre-spring vegetables. It grows only 4 to 5 weeks a year. You know, when you grab asparagus, you want the super nice and tight. You know, but this one, it's a phenomenon. We're trying to wield the vegetables, these wild vegetables. It's amazing. It's probably the sexiest vegetable I've ever tried in my life. And what we do, you know, it's very funny, you know, because we discovered we had to cut it at 12 o'clock when the sun is right in front, and before the bloom, before the blooming is when the plant concentrates the huge amount of energy. So we cut, and we're trying to wield that plant in the cooking process. So it's really amazing. Anyways, so few dishes. This is the way that Santiago looks during the spring. You know, it's quite amazing. Yeah, and you know, it's the funny thing is you're in the city, and you'll be in in an hour time. You'll find the coast. You know, in 45 minutes you'll be up in the mountains, up to 3,000 meters, and you'll get to see things that you won't see anywhere else in the world probably. So this is our coast. Some of the amazing seafood that we have. Our ocean is very cold, and if you think Chile is just like an island, you know, fully very high mountains in the Pacific Ocean. There's nothing in front, so it's very amazing. These are our beautiful sea urchins. It's not a big one; it's just a normal one in season, you know. So alophytes, you know, our rocks are fully covered by these rock plants, as we call them. Sea strawberries, rock clovers, and rock vegetables. This is very incredible. When you think, like, for instance, like this sea strawberry, it looks and it feels and it works almost like a strawberry growing on top of the rocks. It smells like a strawberry. It tastes like a strawberry, but it's salty. You know, so that's the way it looks inside of the skin. You know, the flesh is quite unique. And I'm going to move quickly up north. So the Atacama Desert, one of the most arid deserts in the earth. And if you see those plants over there, I know it looks like a dry plants near to the soil, but trust me, these are like I don't know, 150 different kinds of plants and profile of tastes, and we knew nothing about this. So we started again this learning process back then. She is Patty, one of the leader of the foraging communities over there, that help us to explore amazing stuff related to the restaurant. This is a cacti that produces a beautiful wild fruit and other plants. Let me show you this plant. It's called tola. I was telling Lily, one of the, she's a journalist from Colombia, that we just discovered this wild fruit. This plant we were using for the last, 7 years. It was very amazing. We were using it, and it grows up to 4,000 meters in the Atacama Desert, and I was nearby, and I saw it, and I saw like something like a wild fruit, and the communities no longer are really connected to it, so no one noticed that. And the problem with these plants are super bitter. And you know, we discovered the wild fruit of the tola. This is amazing stuff. It's the most floral thing you can ever try. But it has a problem, you know? So it's tremendously bitter. And so we decided to treat it like Japanese are treating umeboshi, you know? So it became such a thing, you know? Such a thing. This is very new to us, by the way. Well, Araucanía, which is near down south, you know, we're going to move down south after Santiago. If you look on a map, Santiago is right up in the center. If you go down south, it's called Araucanía, near to the mountains, volcanoes, and incredible amounts of ingredients: wild fruits, mushrooms, Chilean pine nuts, very big, by the way, wild strawberry, and different varieties of wild fruits. Again, different potatoes, mushrooms, not to mention This is a dueña, which is like almost like an emmy parasite. Again, we were happy about these ingredients because it meant one possibility. Unfortunately, this learning process, took us a long time because seasons are very short, so we have to wait a long time to experiment with them and use them till the next year. And suddenly we started, making notes. And after 10 years, we had almost a dictionary, so we could move forward. Different mushrooms, and people behind the restaurant. They're very, very important. I know it's a thing that many people say, but for us, it's really it's part of Borrego, really, So foraging communities, small producers from the entire country, they allow us to create a huge amount of knowledge that we never expected. Nowadays, an ingredient, Chilean ingredient, means at least 300 possibilities. So it's a huge amount of range and of profiles of taste and spectrums of flavors as well. So this place is really amazing, but they hold a huge amount of ingredients, such as the wild apples, I have a funny story behind these wild apples, very little tiny, different varieties, by the way. And I remember back then, that's another story, but when the restaurant was empty, and we passed to a fully booked restaurant from one day to the next, because we appear in the Latin American 50 Best for the first time ever. I remember calling Don Pascual, our forager, saying, "Hey, Don Pascual, remember the wild apples? That little tiny box, well, we need 500 kilos now." So that's how it slowly changed, but that time we were able to, lambi, some squid. And again, we try to draw a different multidimensional schedule, and to understand the seasonality over the country, from up north to down south. And that helps us to define 4 lines of work that we have nowadays. We moved the restaurant at the beginning of 2019, and we created our own research center, since we never dream of, learning this huge amount of ingredients. In those 4 lines of work, seaweeds, small fish such as anchovies, and Chilean sardines. We've got so many possibilities with it. We have more than 700 kinds of seaweeds. We only use 4 or 5 traditionally in Chile. Late tradition, And so we were learning from the natives and also creating knowledge on top of that. And sea carrots, So we started doing different processes, such as hydrolysis, fermenting, and so this suddenly opened our minds into the new spectrum of way of cooking. This is a seaweed that is the only honeycomb seaweed in the world, and it's very amazing. Can measure 5 meters long. Allow us to produce incredible dishes such as the bladder of seaweed. We stuff with mushrooms, and the flower salavango, or the roots of the seaweed. Seaweeds have no roots, but this one is really amazing. And allowed us to hydrolyze this broth it tastes almost like a soy sauce without being fermenting, and it's really, really, really amazing. And the other line of work, it was, of course, rock plants, but also mushrooms. We have tons of native mushrooms in Chile, and but not only ones that your eyes can see. For sure, they're very interesting. We start digging in different processes, very crazy stuff that we got in mind. We truly believe creativity. It's our, we feel it in our guts. It's very, very important to us. So we start aging, mushrooms in different altitudes and different ways, producing beautiful, dishes that we never dream of, with profiles of taste again. But the most important thing, not only the mushrooms that you can see were interesting, but we create an incredible amount of knowledge on mushrooms that our eyes are enabled to see, And there's a thing, if you look on the huge amount of ingredients that we have in the land, it kind of replicates in a microscope in the Chilean native forest. You know, if I make you drag the finger on top of the leaves of certain amount of native trees, you'll taste it, you won't believe it. It's a huge amount of umami. We're now experimenting with that, growing fungus to different processes. And you know, we have two lines of work, two areas, I'm sorry. OP, we call it, and which means all the processes, and our test area, where we play, you know, kefir. It's, you know, kefir, it's a big thing in Turkey, but it's also, we can adopt it in Chile, and it's one of the biggest traditions. So this little guy means nowadays, like at least 300 possibilities. We do many things with this guy, and so creating, I don't know, pajarito, we call it pajarito, which means a small little tiny bit, and we use the whey infusing on fermented leaves, or pajarito cream, or we use it as a season, for seasoning, you know. We also created a new way to understand misos. I know it's a trendy thing, but this is an old thing for us. We were doing misos with no beans in 3 weeks instead of a month or a year, with super high quality, grabbing any native ingredient, using different ways, you know. Castor apple treated as cheese for this is a 6 month old castor apple. It tastes amazing. And what I'm going to show you guys now, it's this is another interesting thing. So mushrooms allowed us to experiment with lignin, with wood. So this fungus can help us to bring more flavors into different wood kinds and leaves as well, using it for doing different dishes and make plants eatable that they weren't, because the huge amount of wood feel in the mouth. So anyways, what I'm going to show you now, it's something that is very interesting. I'm not going to show you what we're doing now. It's a very old recipe, actually, very old. We don't do it anymore. It's back. I'm going to go back in 2012. It's a dessert, but how, you know, normally we used to serve dishes about ingredients that they're growing at this time of the year. You know, this is happening in different places in the Chilean territory. But this recipe, what I'm going to show you, it's absolutely opposite to that thinking at that time, and created an apex on our way of thinking through creating dishes. So I'm going to show you a video about the native tree called peumo, and the way we think it. So can we see the video? Can we see the video now? Yeah. Okay, so this is 1 year around this native tree, you know. So 2012, we wanted to do something for the next year. So we started looking at the tree, and this is how it looks, you know, in the wintertime. The only wafer it grows in the winter, because it loses the leaves, and it produces so much sugar. The tree, it stresses, and it's very beautiful taste profile. And so we decided to start that year doing something with the wood, with the leaves, and different elaborations. Can we raise the volume of the music, if you don't mind? Yeah. So we're gonna start showing different elaborations with the yeah. So we started producing the peumo, the paste that we ferment that year. We grab the wild fruits and we ferment it for the next year, and we treat it as a candy. So we produce that. The same year, we grab huge amounts of those the wild fruits. We produce a vinegar, 1 year old vinegar, and we're going to contrast all of that with this is white chocolate, roasted white chocolate, you know, in order to produce like something like a crumble or something. Forget about the technique or the recipes. Just I'm going to show you. I'm going to point at the idea behind. So the next year, when we were ready to serve the desserts, we grab the peumos, you know? We grab the peumos. By the way, we were grabbing the wild fruit at different times of the year, even when it was unripe. Yeah, so fresh peumos, we're gonna stuff with this paste, because it's very soft, so we thought it needed more personality. So we're gonna stuff it with this paste that will give a huge personality to it. So we're gonna cover it. And we're also gonna put that paste on top of the plate, you know, because it's very intense. We're gonna blend that white roasted chocolate. So remember, this is an old recipe, is from back then, you know, and so we grab the wild fruits, the unripe, and we cook it on a smoked syrup on the same wood. So we're gonna put it on top of the plate as a different contrast, yeah. We're gonna do when the fruit start to ripen, you know, to get ready to eat it in March, so end of our summer. We grab it, we smoke it, and we soak it in pisco. And then we you know, when the even more ripe, no, I'm sorry, that was in January. It's still very unripe, so we're treating like a umeboshi, you know. So we also going to use the wild fruit different times in the year. And you know, when we were ready to serve the desserts, we were grabbing the leaves, the fresh leaves, first ones of the season, like. And so we pickle for about a month, and it feels like a beautiful texture, like almost like a seaweed, you know. And we wanted the people to have the sense of this idea 1 year around the peumo, without saying that much, you know. And then we noticed the sprouts were coming of the same tree, beautiful texture. And remember that vinegar. So we did the 1-year-old vinegar sorbet. And we're gonna put a skewer, so we're gonna put also on top of the skewer the wild fruits. So you can make yourself an idea what is to grab the wild fruits out of the skewer. So yeah, that was the idea, you know, back then. So this really changed the way we were thinking. So I'm gonna do a very short demo here. This is, I was trying to, I don't know if you can show this with the camera. I'm gonna put it on top of the plates. So, yeah, so I brought like this one. There you go, perfect. So, yeah, I guess it's easy for me to move behind the scenes. No spoons. Could I get a spoon? Maybe could I get a spoon? Or a few? Yeah, plastic spoons, whatever. Plastic spoons, yes. I have them. No worries, I have them here. Sorry, got it. Okay, so anyways, this is a snack we just got at the menu now. We reopened the restaurant, and I brought these mushrooms. Unfortunately, the other ones, they didn't make it, but I wanted to show it. This is an hemiparasite. I think you saw it in the pictures. These are little tiny ones, and we call it diweña. It grows only 4 weeks a year, and we do this kind of candy skewer. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a real branch, so we want people to taste the same idea, you know? It really follows. It really follows on our, you know, our minds to produce something deep in different layers of flavor. So what we do is we do this dough, you know, which is mother dough really, with and we're sprouting and fermenting the seeds at the same time in order to do a very different kind of amanato, like Japanese, you know, Japanese fermenting. And so we do on this, inside of this dough, we put it, and it's just tremendously beautiful because you build different layers of flavor. And after this, you know, we kind of shape it up, and we give we give the sort of, the shape of the native tree, and where the mushrooms are growing. And we do this paste, which is very similar to that recipe, because we started doing, using different wild fruits and different manners in order to produce this paste, which has different layers of flavor based on umami. And so what we do, it's, okay, I'm gonna put a little bit here, a little bit there. Yes. So this is, at the moment we're serving this guy with something we call Chilean castor apple, which is, or chirimoya, So we're gonna put the mushrooms. These mushrooms are very, very intense. It reminds me a little bit, the profile of taste, like a matsutake kind, Unfortunately, I got only little tiny ones. Normally we put little bigger mushrooms, and it tastes really amazing. So we stuff them. They're inside. This one is really bad, but the inside it's like orange. It looks like it's very special. And so normally we stuff it with the orange puree, So we're using castor apple mixing with pajarito cream, so it will look something like this. We call pajarito cream to kefir. This is really amazing. It's like, so we're so jealous from French. I don't know, Elaine, if you're there. We're so jealous because we have no creme fraiche in Chile, so we have to use this. But it's still there, So anyway, we serve it with this, and we paint it with different oils of different fermented plants and native wild fruits, that it grows in the forest, so you can really taste something that is flashing for a very short amount of time during the year. Yeah. Going to that. And what we do with these plants, we're grabbing one of those oils and we're pressing with a lot of heat. So it's has a very delicate texture, but fully intense of aroma and taste as well, And so we're going to put a little more because it's very delicious. Yeah, so more or less it will look something like that. You can see it. So you grab it, and what we do, I don't know if we can go back to the images of the presentation. Can we? So I'm going to show you. Can we go back to the presentation? Would it be possible? Yeah. So well, anyways, this is the dish. Normally we mix the chirimoya, treat it like cheese for a few months. We were really treating vegetables like cheese for a long, long time, as you would do with Parmigiano or with beautiful cheeses. And so we mix it, and so you grab the skewer with the hand. And right now, this mushroom is in season in the spring menu. I'm sorry. So you grab it with the hands, maybe a few bites, and that's it. So thank you so much. So excited to share with you. And by the way, Borrego came back at least 100 times more delicious than what it was before pandemic. We've been closed for a year and a half. Get your asses down south. We're waiting for you. Love you all.